I just deposited $2,000 into Bet365, and I am going to try to turn it into $5,000 by the end of the college football season. Now, taking $2,000 and turning it into $5,000 might seem like it's easy, but trust me, it is not, especially if you're using good bankroll management. And for this challenge, I'm going to use $20 as my unit size. That gives me 100 units to start with. As I go through the bets each and every week, I will tell you the size of the units I'm betting on each game, and I'm going to use a combination of straight bets, round robins, and, of course, parlays to try to get that $3,000 profit. So let's get into it here in week 0 in college football and start cashing some tickets. The first bet I'm making in the college football season is San Diego State -3 over Ohio. And this is going to be for 1.5 units. Now, Brady Hoke and his guys come into this one after a very down offensive year in 2022. They have brought in Aztec alum Ryan Lindley as offensive coordinator, and with that, I would assume comes a much better passing attack, as Lindley led the Aztecs to 457 yards per game in 2010. Now, Jalen Maiden will be the guy at the helm for the Aztecs, but a team that has relied on the rushing attack for a better part of the last decade is going to be what I'm looking at in this game. Ohio, who had a stellar defense last season, has now some big holes in the defensive line as there is only one returning starter. Now, I like Jalen Armstead Jr. for San Diego State to get a heap of carries in this one and exploit that bad line, and this offense for San Diego State to at least put up 24 points in this one. Now, the defensive side of the football for the Aztecs does have some holes, but with linebackers Malone, Branch, and McDonald, I like this to be the bread and butter of this team's existence here in 2023. Take it from me, who lost a lot of money betting the over the Aztecs. They can shut down teams very quickly. Ohio, they have Curtis Rourke throwing against that stout defense. Rourke, who is MAC Offensive Player of the Year, is coming off an ACL tear late last season. I'm not sure how he's going to be early on the season, something to look for in this game. I do think Ohio, though, has a lot of talent on offense if Rourke is healthy enough to lead the charge. However, they do have to travel across country in their first game, and there's going to be a lot of rust to shake off here, having not played in a competitive game in over 8+ months for Rourke. Now, I like San Diego State to rush early and often and wear this defense down, and then they pull away late using that air attack and win this one easily. So again, I'm going to take San Diego State -3 over Ohio. The second bet I am placing on this small slated Saturday is going to be FIU and Louisiana Tech over 58.5 points for 1.5 units. Panthers, they're coming off a bad season, and it only got worse as they lost some players to the transfer portal. But Grayson James, who threw for nearly 2,000 yards last season, still at quarterback, so not all hope is lost. But his top target, Chambers, did go over to Maryland, so he's going to have to rely on Jalen Bracey and Chris Mitchell to fill that hole. Now, Louisiana Tech, though, actually had a worse season last year than FIU, and a lot of that had to do with their defense. Bulldogs gave up 468 yards per game last season, and their rush defense, if you can believe this, gave up more yardage than their pass defense. Now, FIU, not typically a heavy ground game, and it looks like they're going to have a freshman filling in at running back this season, but if there is a hole to exploit on the Bulldogs defense, it surely is going to be on the ground. Louisiana Tech's offense, however, is what typically keeps them in games. It's going to be a new face that's going to lead the passing offense for the first time. Hank Brockmeyer from Boise State. He's got some good weapons at his disposal, and maybe the best name in all of sports, Smoke Harris, is going to be a nice compliment to Cyrus Allen there at wide receiver. And when they do want to run the football, they have Baylor transfer, another great name, Squirrel Williams. Now, although FIU lost their leading tackler, they do have a plethora of starters returning this season. The problem, though, in this matchup is that they're going up against a very good passing offense, and they do not have, in my opinion, the secondary to stop the Bulldogs through the air. I like both teams to exploit each other's defensive weaknesses in this game, and for this one to be close, but eventually get over the 58.5 points late in the fourth quarter. Now, finally, we could not start the college football season without talking about my team, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, taking on longtime rival Navy. First off, if you're a Notre Dame fan, give me a Go Irish in the comments. This one, of course, being played in Dublin, Ireland. And let's first talk real quick about the midshipmen. Everyone knows that they run the triple option. It has been their bread and butter since the early 1900s. Last season, they were 4th in the nation in rushing, but honestly, if you're going to run the football every single time, that stat is a bit deceiving. Something that's not deceiving, though, is Notre Dame's rush defense, which was 32nd overall last season. However, they do come in with new faces on the defensive line, so the question of can they succeed versus run-heavy offenses should be answered very quickly here in Week 0. Now, I really don't need to take much time talking about Navy's air attack, as their leading receiver last season only had 250 yards. I will say this, though. There are going to be times where Navy is going to throw the football, and Notre Dame just cannot sleep on the pass, because if they do, Navy will have some big, massive gains, and that will set up touchdowns instead of field goals for that Navy offense. Now, enough about Navy, though. Let's talk about my Irish. There's good news and bad news on their front. Tommy Rees, he went to Alabama, so we don't have that play caller anymore, but we did get Sam Hartman from Wake Forest, and I really think that is a big upgrade from some recent QBs that we've had. Now, I think we're going to see a different offense this season, and one that mainly relies on passing the football. Notre Dame traditionally has used the run to set up the pass, but I think this season we actually see that reversed with Hartman along with Jaden Thomas, Tobias Merriweather, and, of course, Chris Tyree. I think those guys are going to have some big years. Now, don't get me wrong, Estime is a good running back, but I think Freeman is a smart man. Well, I really hope he's a smart man. And with the holes in the secondary and on the defensive line, I think Notre Dame needs to be able to score at will through the air. But in this matchup, those secondary question marks will mean nothing against the triple option. So I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, and honestly, this is biased, but I think Notre Dame makes a statement in this game. Remember, just last year they lost to Marshall and Stanford, and those losses cost them a chance that could have been a shot at a national championship. I like the Irish to take care of business on their quote-unquote motherland of Ireland, and I am going to take them minus 20.5 points for 1.5 units. So we're going to start off light this week with just 3 bets, as it is a small slate, but be sure to join me next week for Week 1 and all of my college football bets. Make sure you go ahead and drop a like, it's always free, and subscribe to follow me on my journey into turning $2,000 into $5,000 during the college football season. Until next time, bet smart, bet well, bet on yourself, and I'll see you soon.